You've been lied to your entire life. Women lied to you when they said personality is what matters most. Society lied to you, force-feeding you myths about romance and equality. But the most dangerous lie came from you. You looked in the mirror and saw a nice guy, never understanding why those nice qualities don't work where it counts the most in her eyes. In her body, in her instincts. You've lived your life playing by rules handed to you by losers. Today, we burn that rule book to the ground. I'm not going to give you advice. I'm going to give you a system, a code, 30 brutal, crystal clear truths about relationships, sex, and power that separate the boy from the man. This knowledge is an initiation, and I'm warning you, after this video, you will never look at women or yourself the same way again. But I must warn you, this knowledge is dangerous. It will change you forever. If you only watch halfway, you'll get half the truth and risk making critical mistakes. The master key to understanding the entire system will be revealed, as always, at the very end. So before we begin, I need you to hit the like button right now. And if you're new here and ready to go all the way for real knowledge, subscribe this instant. And before we start, I'm curious about our geography. Please write what city you're from in the comments. Let's see where the men ready for the truth have gathered today. Part 1. The Great DCPTIO Lesson Number 1. Good sex is a painkiller for a dying relationship, not the cure. This is a fundamental mistake 99% of men make. When a relationship grows cold, when conversations become empty and time together feels like torture, a man instinctively looks for the easiest solution. He thinks that if he can create fireworks in bed, it will bring back the intimacy. He is wrong. That isn't intimacy. It's what Freud would call a classic defense mechanism, an attempt to escape an unbearable truth his ego refuses to admit through primitive physical pleasure. Understand one simple thing. Passionate sex against a backdrop of total alienation is not a sign that all is not lost. It's a feast during a plague. It's a way to briefly forget that the ship is sinking. A woman might give herself to you with incredible passion, because for her, it's also an escape from reality. You both use sex like a drug to numb the pain of a relationship falling apart. It's a mutual retreat from reality into the only space where words aren't necessary. The real indicator is what happens after. If, 5 minutes after orgasm, you're lying with your backs to each other again, and the silence in the room is louder than any words, your diagnosis is final. Your relationship is dead, and the sex is just convulsions. Beautiful, intense, but final. A man sees sex as a tool. He thinks if he performs well, she will love and respect him again. But a woman sees sex as a barometer. For her, it reflects what's happening outside the bedroom. It doesn't create respect. It's the result of it. You can't fix a leaking roof by painting the ceiling in your bedroom, not so. Remember the first truth of the code. Stop trying to cure your problems in bed. Sex is the litmus test. If it has become the only bright spot in endless darkness, it's not a sign of hope. It's a symptom of agony. The real work of saving a relationship doesn't happen at night under the covers, but during the day, through hard, honest, and uncomfortable conversations. Lesson number 2. She's not faking it because you're bad, but because she wants you to finish faster. This is one of the most painful truths for the male ego. A man, in his naive belief, takes her moans and cries as direct proof of his mastery. He hears applause in them. But in the overwhelming majority of cases, it's a polite way of asking the actor to leave the stage. Faking it isn't a compliment. It's an act of mercy or desperation. Let's break down the reasons. The first and most common is that she's simply bored, uncomfortable, or even in pain. But centuries of evolution have hardwired a program into her. Do not provoke an aggressive response from the male. To say directly during the act, "I don't like this, stop," is for many women psychologically equivalent to a challenge. So she chooses the path of least resistance. Play along, speed up the process, and end it with minimal psychological damage to both of you. The second reason is that she's protecting your ego. She sees you trying so hard and doesn't want to hurt you with the truth. This is the classic white lie that is actually a massive disservice. It preserves your illusion of being irresistible, but kills the last remnants of her attraction. Every faked orgasm is another nail in the coffin of her respect for you as a man who can't sense the truth. How can you tell the difference between truth and theater? It's very simple. Real female pleasure is total. It's not in the vocal cords. It's in the entire body. It's involuntary muscle contractions, a change in her eyes, a loss of control. Faking it is work. It's a performance that's always a little too much, too loud, too perfectly timed, too theatrical. A man who is in touch with reality, not his own fantasies, will always feel the falsehood. Stop looking for confirmation in her cries. Start looking for it in her nonverbal signals. And understand this: if you create a space of total trust where she isn't afraid to be honest, she won't have to fake it. Faking it is always a symptom of fear or a lack of respect. Lesson number 3. Her no isn't always an invitation to play. Sometimes no just means no, and your inability to hear it reveals you not as an alpha, but as a deaf man. The culture of pickup artists and cheap men's coaching has for decades promoted a dangerous myth that a woman's resistance is part of a ritual that must be broken, that behind every no hides a trembling yes. This is a lie, and this lie damages both men and women. It turns men into pushy idiots and makes women afraid to be sincere. Yes, a playful no exists, a flirtatious resistance that is part of foreplay. But it differs from a real rejection as much as a playful spank differs from a punch. A playful no is accompanied by a smile in her eyes, by body language that says, "Keep going." A real no is a wall. Her gaze turns cold, her body closes off, her tone becomes flat. There's no energy of a game in it. There's the energy of a boundary. A man who doesn't see this difference demonstrates not strength, but glaring social incompetence. He shows that he's incapable of reading basic signals. He behaves not like a confident leader, but like a reality-deaf child trying to snatch a toy by force. This doesn't create attraction. It creates pity and disgust. Moreover, your persistence after a firm no is a direct statement. Your feelings and boundaries don't matter to me. Only my desires do. This is an act of total disrespect. A woman, on a deep, instinctual level, seeks a man with whom she will be safe. A man who doesn't hear her no is a direct threat to that safety. He is not a protector. He is a predator, and not a very smart one at that. True masculine strength lies not in breaking her boundaries, but in respecting them, even if you don't like it. The ability to hear no, accept it with dignity, and back off, that's what demonstrates your inner foundation and confidence. It silently communicates to her, "I am so self-sufficient that I don't need to get my way by force. My world won't collapse because you rejected me." And paradoxically, this is precisely what builds both respect and attraction. Lesson number 4. Sexual compatibility doesn't exist. There's only the desire, or lack thereof, to work on the relationship. The myth of sexual compatibility is the perfect excuse for lazy people. When they encounter the first difficulties in bed, different rhythms, different preferences, different libidos, it's easiest to blame it on some mystical incompatibility. To say, "We're just not right for each other," and go look for someone else. This is an infantile approach. Understand this. Sex is not magic. It's a skill. And like any skill, it requires study, practice, and most importantly, communication. Two people in bed for the first time are like two musicians who have never played together before. Even if both are virtuosos, they need time to sync up, to feel each other's rhythm, to learn to listen and adapt. To expect a perfect symphony on the first try is foolish. Sexual compatibility isn't something you find. It's something you build. It's the result of hundreds of small conversations, hints, trials, and errors. It's the courage to say what you like and the attentiveness to hear what she likes. It's the willingness to experiment and step out of your comfort zone. It's work. And as with any work, motivation plays the key role. When people talk about incompatibility, they're really talking about a lack of desire to invest. If a man isn't willing to spend time learning his woman's body, if a woman isn't willing to speak honestly about her desires, if both are unwilling to talk about this vulnerable topic, it's not about chemistry. It's about laziness and fear. There are exceptions, of course. Physiological anomalies, deep psychological trauma. But in 99% of cases, the problem is solvable. Instead of searching for a mythical perfect partner with whom everything will just work, a man should ask himself, am I willing to become the partner with whom everything works for her? This is the position of an adult. To look for the cause not in incompatibility, but in one's own unwillingness or inability to build. Lesson number 5. She lies about her number of partners not to deceive you, but because she instinctively knows the truth will shatter your illusion of her purity. This question is one of the stupidest a man can ask, and one of the most revealing. The very fact that you care about her past betrays your insecurity. But that's not the point right now. The point is why she lies. Most men think she hides the truth out of shame or a desire to conceal something. The real reason is deeper and more pragmatic. She is protecting you from yourself. A woman, even one who isn't highly intellectual, understands a fundamental paradox of male psychology on an instinctual level. On one hand, a man is drawn to an experienced, uninhibited woman. On the other, his ego demands that she be pure and belong only to him. This is a legacy of millennia of evolution, when it was critical for a man to be certain he was raising his own children. So, when you ask this question, you put her in a no-win situation. If she tells the truth, and that truth is more than your ego can handle, you will subconsciously start to devalue her. You'll picture her with others, doubt her quality. You will, with your own hands, destroy the image of her you hold. She knows this. She feels it. Her lie is not an attempt to deceive you. It's an attempt to save the relationship. It's a preemptive strike against your own insecurity. She is, in a way, saying, I will not give you a reason to destroy what we are building because of your own complexes. It's a kind of social contract. You pretend to believe her, and she pretends to tell the truth. Everyone's happy. A man who demands a full accounting of a woman's past is like someone who bought a beautiful painting and now interrogates the artist about who else saw it before him. It's absurd. It doesn't matter how many people looked at it before. What matters is that it's hanging on your wall now. If her past bothers you that much, it means you're not confident in your present. Work on yourself, not on digging through her biography. Lesson number 6. Your desire to be good and not hurt her in bed is the number one killer of her attraction. She wants tenderness from a friend. From a man, she wants confidence. This is the central paradox that shatters millions of nice guys. You think that extreme delicacy, constantly asking about her comfort, and being afraid of doing something wrong are signs of caring. To her, they are signs of your weakness. In bed, a woman doesn't want the democracy. She wants to be under the power of a confident leader. Recall Jung's classic concept of the anima and animus. In every woman, there is an inner man, animus, responsible for structure, logic, and action. In every man, an inner woman, anima, responsible for feelings, intuition, and chaos. When you start acting like a good girl, in bed being overly gentle, hesitant, constantly asking for permission, you're not appealing to her feminine essence, but to her animus. You force her to take on the male role, to make decisions, to lead, to control. And that is a direct path to frustration and the death of attraction that her feminine nature wants to surrender, to give up control, to dissolve into the moment. But she can only do that with someone who creates and confidently directs that moment. Your job is to be the solid riverbanks within which her river can flow freely and fiercely. But when you constantly ask her which way to flow, you destroy the very essence of the process. Tenderness is important, but it must be a gift from the strong, not an offering from the weak. Tenderness from a man who, 5 minutes earlier, confidently took control of the situation is perceived as incredibly valuable. The same tenderness from a man who acted like a frightened supplicant from the start is perceived as fawning. Stop being afraid of hurting her. Be afraid of being boring and predictable to her. She will forgive you a small mistake or an awkward moment if she feels your inner strength and confidence. But she will never forgive you if, out of your own fear, you turn an act of passion into a polite and dull tea party. Lesson number 7. She doesn't want tenderness. She wants safety. Tenderness without a sense of safety is perceived as weakness. This lesson is a direct continuation of the previous one, but with an important clarification. Men often confuse two fundamentally different concepts, safety and tenderness. They think they are synonyms. In reality, they are cause and effect. Safety is the foundation. Tenderness is the beautiful house that can only be built on that foundation. What is safety from a woman's perspective? It's not just physical protection. It is, first and foremost, psychological safety. It's her firm conviction that she is with a man who is in control of the situation, not just in the bedroom, but in life. He knows what he wants. He doesn't freak out at the first sign of trouble. He makes decisions and takes responsibility for them. His word is law. His presence is the order that comes to her chaos. When this foundation of safety exists, any tenderness from you is perceived as a manifestation of strength. A kind word from a man who can move mountains is worth a ton. An embrace from the one who is a rock is a true sanctuary. But if this foundation is missing, if in life you are unreliable, doubtful, weak, then your tenderness in bed becomes a pathetic parody. She looks at your attempts to be gentle and sees not care, but an attempt to bribe her. You're trying to compensate for your lack of a backbone with affection. You're basically saying, look, I can't be your rock in life, but at least I can be very gentle. To her instincts, this sounds like an admission of your own inadequacy. And it doesn't evoke affection. It evokes disgust. So, before you think about how to be more tender, ask yourself, have I created a feeling of total safety for her? Does she feel like she's behind a stone wall with you? Or does she know that this wall is made of cardboard and could collapse at any moment from a gust of wind? First, build the wall, and only then decorate it with the flowers of tenderness. Any other order is a road to nowhere. Lesson number 8. The most intense sex often happens not with those you love, but with those who awaken your shadow and break your boundaries. This is another cruel truth that official culture denies, but that depth psychology confirms. We're told that the best sex is making love with a close, familiar person. Often, that's true, but the most mind-blowing, unforgettable, animalistic sex almost always happens in the territory of the shadow. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow to describe the part of our personality that we repress and deny. It contains our dark desires, hidden instincts, suppressed aggression, and passion. A good boy or a decent girl hides their shadow deep inside. And then a partner appears who, With their behavior, their scent, their gaze, gives that shadow permission to come out. They don't judge it. They invite it to play. And that's when an explosion happens. This is precisely why a perfect student might have a crazy affair with a bad boy biker. Not because he's better than her high-achieving fiancé, but because he validates her inner bad girl, the one she's afraid to admit to herself. He gives her the chance to be someone she doesn't allow herself to be in her normal life. In this case, sex becomes not just a physical act, but an act of total liberation. A man who wants to experience something similar with his woman must learn to work, not only with his own shadow, but with hers as well. He must become that safe space where she isn't afraid of her dirty thoughts and desires. He must not judge her but accept and even encourage her dark side. He must show her that he, too, has this dark side and isn't afraid of it. If you always play only the role of the shining knight in a relationship, you leave a huge part of her personality and your own untapped. And sooner or later, someone will come along and knock on that dark door, and she will open it, because no one can live their whole life denying half of themselves. The most enduring and passionate relationships are built by those who are not afraid to descend together into the basement of their own psyche and dance there with their demons. Lesson number 9. If you can't turn her brain on with conversation, you'll never truly turn her body on. Men, by their nature, tend to separate sex from everything else. For many, foreplay begins 5 minutes before physical contact. For a woman, foreplay began this morning, or last night. It began with how you spoke to her. A woman's most important sexual organ isn't between her legs. It's between her ears. It's her brain, her imagination, her emotional state. You can be a technically flawless lover, but if throughout the day you are a boring, predictable, disrespectful, or simply uninteresting conversationalist, her body will be closed to you. Physically, she might be with you, but mentally and emotionally, she won't be there. What does it mean to turn her brain on? It doesn't mean having scholarly debates with her. It means knowing how to create and change her emotional states with words. It's the ability to intrigue, to joke, to be a little sarcastic, to talk about deep topics, to tell stories that capture her imagination. It's the ability to be not just a husband or partner to her, but the most interesting person she knows. When she's interested in you as a person, when she eagerly awaits conversation with you, her body already begins to prepare for intimacy. Your voice, your thoughts, your humor all become part of the erotic ritual. She gets turned on by your intellect, by your confidence, by the life energy that you express in speech. Physical touch then becomes just the final chord in a symphony that has been playing all day. But if your conversations are limited to discussing household chores, bills, and weekend plans, you are systematically killing the woman in her. You are turning her into a domestic partner, and then you wonder why there's no fire in the bedroom. You extinguished it yourself with dull and bland talk. Start with the head. Conquer her mind, and her body will follow without any resistance. Lesson number 10. Her refusal of oral sex isn't about disgust. It's about your lack of authority and her lack of trust. This issue often becomes a stumbling block. A man perceives her refusal as a personal insult or a sign of her hang-ups. He starts to pressure, persuade, manipulate, which only makes the situation worse. He doesn't understand that the root of the problem lies not in physiology, but in hierarchy and psychology. For a woman, oral sex is an act of maximum surrender and submission. It's a symbolic acknowledgement of male authority. By performing this act, she non-verbally says, "I recognize your power. I trust you so much that I am willing to be in this vulnerable position." Therefore, if she refuses, it's not about hygiene or taste. It's about the fact that you haven't earned the status in her eyes of someone she is willing to kneel before. This may sound harsh, but it's true. She may love you as a person, value you as a friend, but not recognize your masculine rank. Perhaps in life, you often show weakness, don't keep your word, shift responsibility. Perhaps you aren't an undisputed authority for her, and her subconscious simply blocks the action that contradicts her sense of your internal hierarchy. She cannot submit to someone she does not fully respect. The second reason is a lack of trust. This isn't just trust in the sense of, you won't cheat on me. It's a deep, animalistic trust. She must be sure that you won't perceive her act as your victory and her humiliation, that you won't brag about it later or use it against her. She must feel that her vulnerability is completely safe in your hands. So, instead of pressuring her, start working on yourself. Become the man whose authority is beyond question. Become someone who can be trusted 100%. Don't talk about it. Show it with your actions every day. And one day, you'll see her refusal turn into a sincere desire, because she won't be doing it for you, but for herself. To experience, through this act, the sweetness of submitting to a man she considers her king. Part 2. The Engine Room of INSTS Lesson Number 11. Passion is fueled not by love, but by uncertainty and the fear of loss. Comfort and stability are its greatest killers. Here we enter the territory of pure biology, which romantics love to ignore. Love and passion are not the same thing. Moreover, they are often two mutually exclusive processes. Love strives for security, predictability, comfort. Passion, or libido, as Freud would call it, feeds on the complete opposite energy. It needs drive, drama, uncertainty. Imagine a fire. Love is the steady, warm flame in the fireplace that heats the home. It is reliable and predictable. Passion is a forest fire. It is dangerous, unpredictable, and mesmerizing in its destructive power. You can warm yourself by the fireplace for years, but you will remember the day you saw the wildfire. The problem is that most people, having built a reliable fireplace, wonder why it doesn't burn like a wildfire as soon as a relationship enters a stage of complete stability, when you know everything about each other. When there is not the slightest risk of the partner leaving, passion begins to die. The tension is gone. The intrigue is gone. The very fear of loss that makes us appreciate what we have disappears. You become comfortable furniture for each other. Reliable, cozy, but completely unexciting. This doesn't mean you need to constantly start fights or flirt with others to maintain passion. It means there must always be an element of slight uncertainty in the relationship. You should not be a completely open book to her. You must have your own interests, your own friends, your own life, or she doesn't have full access. She must feel that you are with her by choice, not because you have nowhere else to go. Sometimes you need to create distance so she has time to miss you. Sometimes you need to be emotionally unavailable so she wants to win your attention again. It's a subtle game, a balance between closeness and detachment. A man who completely dissolves into a woman becomes uninteresting to her. He loses his separate value, and what has no value cannot ignite passion. Lesson number 12. The best aphrodisiac for a woman is the feeling that other women want you. This is the law of pre-selection. This is one of the most cynical but absolutely effective laws of evolutionary psychology. The female brain is designed to minimize risks when choosing a partner, and the easiest way to know if a partner is high quality is to see that he has already been approved by other females. This mechanism is called pre-selection, or mate choice copying. Imagine you walk into a restaurant. There are two tables. At one sits a lone man, and around the other is a crowd of beautiful women laughing at his jokes. Which man automatically seems more high status and attractive to you? The answer is obvious. Women are the best indicator of a man's value to other women. Therefore, when your woman sees that others notice you, The saleswoman gives you a sweet smile. The waitress flirts. Her friends compliment you. A light goes on in her brain. My man is in demand. He is a valuable resource. I made the right choice. This increases your value in her eyes, and consequently, her attraction to you. Conversely, if you are socially invisible, if no woman other than her reacts to you, her subconscious starts to sound the alarm. Why does no one want him? Is there something wrong with him? Did I make a mistake? This slowly but surely kills her attraction. She starts to see you not as a prize, but as a burden that no one else wanted. How do you use this? You don't need to cheat or openly flirt. You just need to be a socially active and valuable man. Develop yourself, pursue your goals, interact with people, have good taste, be an interesting conversationalist. Make your value obvious to those around you. And then her pre-selection instinct will work for you. She will look at you and be proud of her choice, and be afraid of losing it. And the fear of loss, as we already know, is the best fuel for passion. Lesson number 13. The louder she proclaims her independence, the more desperately she's looking for someone who can take control over her. This is a classic example of what Jung called compensation. When a part of the personality is excessively displayed and declared, it almost always means that its complete opposite lies in the shadow, in the unconscious, desperately seeking a way out. The strong and independent woman is often just a persona, a social mask she wears. Behind this mask hides her anima, her inner woman, who is tired of deciding everything, tired of being strong, tired of carrying responsibility. And she desperately longs to meet a man who is even stronger, someone to whom she can finally, without fear, hand over control, someone whose power and authority are so unquestionable that she can afford to relax and just be a woman. Men make a fatal mistake when they believe this mask. They hear her words about independence and start treating her like a business partner. They offer her equality, discuss every decision with her, and are afraid to assert their will so as not to offend her strong personality. By doing so, they only provoke her irritation and disappointment. She is not looking for another equal. She has plenty of equals and subordinates in her life. She is looking for someone who is above her, someone whose behavior says, I see your strength and I respect it, but my strength is greater. Relax, I'm in charge now. This is what she's waiting for, but will never admit, even to herself. So when you meet such a woman, don't be afraid of her strength. Don't try to play along with her. Assert your will. Make decisions. Act like a leader. Yes, at first, she might test your strength, rebel, argue. It's a test. She wants to be sure your power isn't fake. But if you pass this test, if you don't bend, she will hand over the reins with immense relief and gratitude, because you are the one she has been searching for her entire life, while loudly proclaiming she doesn't need him. Lesson number 14. A woman will forgive you for cheating on her with another, but she will never forgive you if you are weak with her during her crisis. This thesis blows minds because it completely contradicts conventional morality. But we're not talking about morality here. We're talking about instincts. Cheating is a blow to her ego, to her sense of uniqueness. It hurts, but it's on the plane of competition with another female. It's a situation her primal brain can understand, but your weakness during her crisis is a blow to her basic need for security. A crisis is when her world is falling apart. The death of a loved one, losing a job, a serious illness. At that moment, her defense mechanisms are broken, and she is at her most vulnerable. And she looks to her man, expecting to see a rock, a pillar of support, a calm and confident strength that says, don't be afraid, I'm here. We'll get through this. And if, instead of that rock, she sees a confused, panicking, whining boy who doesn't know what to do, Or worse, has a meltdown himself at that moment. Her respect for him dies. Forever. She might stay with him out of pity, out of habit, for the kids. But her instinct has delivered its verdict. This male is unreliable. He cannot be counted on in a moment of real danger. And that is a sentence with no appeal. She can forgive you for a mistake made from a position of strength. Cheating is, in a way, an expression of excess sexual energy. But she will never forgive you for a failure committed out of weakness. Because a man's weakness is a direct threat to her survival and that of her offspring. That's how her brain works, and no social constructs will change that dot. So, when a storm hits her life, your job is to be the lighthouse. You don't need to fuss around. You don't need to cry with her. You need to calmly and confidently do what must be done. Solve problems. Provide stability. Be the center of order in her world of chaos. One such act will be worth more in her eyes than thousands of bouquets and compliments in peaceful times. Lesson number 15. She doesn't cheat because she found someone better. She cheats because she is deathly bored. The male ego is simple. If a woman leaves for another man, it means that other man is better. He has more money, bigger muscles, a bigger dick. A man thinks in terms of direct competition, but female infidelity often lies on a completely different plane. The reason isn't the availability of a better option, but unbearable boredom with the current one. Boredom in a relationship isn't just a lack of entertainment. It's an existential dread. It's the feeling that life is passing by, that every day is the same as the last, that there will be no more discoveries, no more emotions, no more passion. It is death while living. And when a woman reaches this point, she starts looking not for a better man, but a different one. Someone who will bring back the feeling of being alive. This different man could be anyone. A colleague at work who compliments her. A random stranger at a bar who listens to her with interest. He might be objectively worse than her husband in every way, but he has one undeniable advantage. He is new. He is the unknown. He is the chance to feel desired, interesting, alive again. In this case, cheating isn't a search for a better partner. It's an attempt to resuscitate herself. A man who lets his relationship turn into a swamp creates all the conditions for infidelity himself. He has ceased to be a source of emotion for her. He has become as predictable as the sunrise. He has stopped surprising her, seducing her, intriguing her. He decided she was already conquered and he could relax. And at that very moment, he lost. A woman will always be drawn to someone who evokes emotions in her. Any emotions. Joy, laughter, interest, even slight irritation or jealousy. Anything but boredom. Boredom is a vacuum that her nature cannot tolerate. And she will fill that vacuum. If not with you, then with someone else. Therefore, the main task of a man in a long-term relationship is not to let her die of boredom. To be an eternal mystery for her that she wants to solve for a lifetime. Lesson number 16. She's not evaluating the size of your organ, but the size of your confidence and control over the situation. This lesson is a balm for the wound of millions of men suffering from small dick syndrome. The entire porn industry and mass culture are built on the cult of size. But in real life, it's one of the most overrated factors. Yes, physiology matters, but it is secondary to psychology. Female pleasure is, first and foremost, a psychosomatic process. Her body only opens up when her mind is relaxed. And her mind relaxes when she feels she is in the hands of a confident, dominant man who knows exactly what he is doing. Your confidence is the key that unlocks her body. Your nervousness and complexes are the lock that shuts it tight. You can have perfect physical attributes. But if you're nervous, fussy, constantly seeking her approval, you will never be able to give her real pleasure. because she will feel your insecurity. And instead of relaxing, she will tense up. She will subconsciously take on your male role as the leader, which, as we know, is an attraction killer. Conversely, a man with average attributes, but with absolute, rock-solid confidence can work wonders. He doesn't think about whether he is good enough. He just takes what he wants. He leads. He controls the process. His hands, his voice, his gaze, everything radiates calm power. And it is this energy, this command of the situation, that makes her body respond. She surrenders control not to your dick. She surrenders control to your personality. So stop obsessing over inches. Start working on your mind. Build self-confidence not in the bedroom, but in life. Achieve goals. Win. Become someone who controls his reality. And when you bring that winner's energy into the bedroom, she won't care at all what size your tool is. Because the main tool will be you. It's precisely for this level of depth and honesty that people come to this channel. Unlike most, we don't hand out sweet lies here. We dig for the brutal truth. If you appreciate this approach, support the channel with your subscription. It's the best way to say thank you. Lesson number 17. Her body remembers everyone, and it subconsciously compares you to each one. This is another uncomfortable truth that the male ego refuses to accept. A man wants to believe he is the one and only, that with his arrival, her entire past has been erased. This is not true. Her body, her nervous system, her subconscious, it's an archive that stores records of every significant sexual experience she has ever had. This doesn't mean she's lying with you and consciously thinking about her ex. The process happens on a much deeper, instinctual level. Her body remembers how it reacted to other touches, to a different scent, to a different energy. And when you're with her, her system calibrates itself against these old records. This part was better then. He does this more interestingly. I went crazy for that. It's not her fault. It's just how body memory works. Every partner leaves a trace in her, an anchor. And your job is not to try to erase these old records. That's impossible. Your job is to record a new, much more powerful and vivid one over them. You must become the experience for her that devalues all previous ones. How do you do that? Not by trying to be better than someone in the past, but by being your most authentic self in your best, strongest version. Don't copy others' techniques. Express your unique energy. Surprise her. Be unpredictable. Create peak emotional states for her that she has never had with anyone else. A man who is jealous of her past has already lost. He wastes his energy fighting ghosts. A wise man accepts her past as a given. He understands that all those men were just preparation for meeting him, and he does everything to become the final entry in her sexual biography, the one after whom all others seem like pale copies. Lesson number 18. She doesn't want equality in bed. She wants to surrender control to a man she deems worthy of it. The idea of equality and partnership is a social construct that works great in business, but fails completely in the bedroom. Female sexuality is hierarchical by nature. For maximum pleasure, she needs to switch off her controlling mind, her social role, her responsibility. She needs to regress to the state of a little girl who completely trusts a strong and reliable daddy. This might sound provocative in our age of feminism, but Freud described it 100 years ago. A daughter's attraction to her father, the Electra complex, is not about incest. It's about the archetypal desire of weak feminine energy to be protected and led by strong masculine energy. An adult woman seeks in her partner not a copy of her father, but someone who can recreate for her that feeling of total safety and authority, with whom she can once again become a little girl. When a man in bed starts talking about equality, suggesting she choose what will do, he destroys this fragile psychological mechanism. He forces her to switch her adult, controlling brain back on. He refuses to take on the role of leader. And her subconscious perceives this as a betrayal. She wanted to surrender, and instead, she was invited to a business meeting. True equality in a relationship isn't when you do everything 50-50ths. It's when each person fully embodies their natural role. Your role is to be the leader, the one who leads, the one who creates reality. Her role is to be led, the one who surrenders, the one who fills that reality with her energy. This isn't about humiliation. It's about harmony and polarity. The more strongly you express your masculine essence, the more strongly her feminine essence awakens in her, and vice versa. So stop being afraid to be dominant. Stop apologizing for your strength. She is waiting for it. She craves it. Give her what she's asking for, not with words, but with her entire being. Allow her, at least for a while, to take off the armor of this strong and independent woman and just be a woman next to a real man. Lesson number 19. Her dirtiest fantasy isn't what she wants in reality. It's her way of releasing her shadow in a safe space. Many men, upon learning of their woman's secret fantasies, like group sex or submission to a stranger, make one of two mistakes. They either get scared and judge her, thinking she's corrupted, or conversely, they rush to immediately act out the fantasy in real life. Both are wrong. You need to understand that the world of fantasy and the world of reality operate under different laws. A fantasy is theater in the mind. It's a safe container where the psyche can unload everything that has been repressed into the shadow. Suppressed aggression, forbidden desires, fears. A fantasy about violence is not a desire to be raped. It's a way to experience total loss of control without taking responsibility for it. It's a way to let her inner slut out without destroying her reputation as a good girl. When you judge her fantasies, you're essentially telling her, "Your shadow disgusts me. I only accept your light side." This forces her to hide her true desires even deeper and to close herself off from you. You lose her trust. When you rush to literally act out the fantasy, you're also making a mistake. Reality almost always falls short of imagination. In a fantasy, everything is perfect, safe, and controlled. In reality, things can go wrong. And most importantly, a realized fantasy loses its magic. It ceases to be that secret garden one can escape to. It becomes just another, possibly awkward, life experience. So what should you do? Become the director of her theater. You don't need to hire real actors. Use elements of her fantasies in your role-playing. If she fantasizes about submission, be more dominant. Use elements of control. If about a stranger, set up a role-play where you meet at a bar. You take the energy of her fantasy, but keep it in the safe, playful space of your bedroom. You let her shadow out for a walk, but you keep it on a reliable leash. This is the pinnacle of emotional and sexual intelligence. Lesson number 20. She'll never admit it, but she's turned on by your light. Playful jealousy, a sign of your value, not by total. Indifferent trust. Modern culture has branded jealousy as a toxic feeling, a sign of insecurity. And in its extreme, paranoid forms, it truly is. But we're not talking about total control and interrogations. We're talking about a subtle, almost imperceptible display of your proprietary instinct. A complete lack of jealousy is read by a woman on a subconscious level, not as high trust, but as your indifference. It sounds to her like this: I don't care if you're with me or not. You're not of great value to me, so I'm not afraid of losing you. And that is a death sentence for her attraction. A woman wants to be a prize, a treasure, something a man is afraid to lose. Light, playful jealousy is the spice that gives a relationship flavor. It's when you're at a party, you see another man flirting with her, and instead of making a scene, you walk over, Calmly and confidently place your hand on her waist and lead her away, giving your rival a cold, appraising look. This simple action contains a powerful message. You are mine, and I will not allow anyone to encroach on my property. Or when she tells you about a colleague who complimented her, and instead of ignoring it, you look her in the eyes and say with a slight smirk, "He should stay away from you." It's not a threat. It's a game. But this game activates ancient instincts in her. She feels your strength, your claim on her. She feels her importance in your eyes. And that is incredibly arousing. Balance is key. Constant jealousy is exhausting and humiliating. But its complete absence is frightening and signals your low value or indifference. A wise man treats his woman like a very expensive car. He doesn't keep it locked in the garage under 7 locks. He proudly drives it out in public. But he will never leave the keys in the ignition and will not let anyone else get behind. The Wheel, Part 3, The Art of POWER, Lesson number 21. Your willingness to serve her in bed, cunnilingus, is perceived as strength only if you are a king in life. Otherwise, it's seen as weakness and groveling. This is one of the most subtle points where men massively misinterpret things. They read in women's magazines that cunnilingus is the key to female pleasure and rush to serve their woman, expecting gratitude and attraction in return. What they get, at best, is a polite thank you, and at worst, hidden contempt. The problem isn't the act itself. The problem is the state of mind from which you perform it. Context is everything. Imagine a king who, as a sign of special favor, kneels before his queen. This is an act of incredible strength. He is so secure in his status that he can afford this gesture of weakness, which only becomes a display of his power and generosity. His rank doesn't suffer. It only grows. Now imagine a court jester who is constantly on his knees, trying to beg a smile from the queen. This is not strength. This is servility. It's a demonstration of his low status. And it doesn't provoke attraction, but pity. So, if you are a king in life, confident, have goals, take responsibility, are an authority figure to her, then your willingness to please her in this way is perceived as a gift from a strong man. As the gesture of a king, she understands that you do it not because you have to, but because you want to. It's your will, your choice. And that is incredibly valuable. But if in life you are that jester, insecure, dependent on her mood, spineless, then your service in bed is perceived simply as a logical extension of your groveling behavior, as an attempt to earn her love and sex. You are not giving a gift. You are paying a price. And what is bought is never truly valued. So first, become a king in life. And only then, get on your knees in the bedroom. And then, that gesture will have that devastating power. Lesson number 22. If she never initiates first, it's not because she's shy. It's because you haven't created the conditions or the desire for it. Men often complain, "She never starts it. The initiative is always on me." And they explain it away as her being shy, her upbringing, or her low libido. In 99% of cases, this is self-deception. Female initiative is not a character trait. It's an indicator of the state of the relationship. The first and main reason for a lack of initiative is that she doesn't feel desired. A woman only initiates sex when she is absolutely certain she won't be rejected. Her fear of rejection is 1,000 times stronger than a man's. If you've been cold, inattentive, or critical of her during the day, and then expect her to come to you in the evening with burning desire in her eyes, you're an idiot. You yourself have created an atmosphere where her initiative is impossible. She's afraid of hearing "I'm tired" or "not now" in response. And that fear paralyzes her. The second reason is that you don't arouse that desire in her. Initiative is born from an excess of energy, from an attraction that can no longer be contained. If you are boring, predictable, and uninteresting to her, where is this excess supposed to come from? You haven't ignited a fire in her. You haven't turned on her brain with conversation. You haven't shown your masculine strength and value. She simply lacks the fuel that could lead to an explosion of initiative. She might not be against sex, but it's passive consent, not active desire. So stop blaming her for being passive. Look at yourself. Do you create an atmosphere of total acceptance for her, where she isn't afraid to be vulnerable and show her desire? Are you the man whose thoughts make her knees weak? Do you seduce her every day with a word, a look, an action? If not, what are you waiting for? Female initiative is not something you demand. It's something you earn. Create the right conditions, and you'll be surprised how not shy your woman can be. Lesson number 23. Your best foreplay isn't caressing. It's how you confidently and calmly resolve the conflict with her during the day. As we've already discussed, for a woman, sex begins long before the bedroom, and nothing kills her attraction more than a poorly handled conflict. And nothing ignites it more than a conflict from which you emerged as the winner, not over her, but over the situation. A typical man's mistake in a conflict is one of two extremes. Either he starts yelling, insulting, and pressuring. That is, he displays uncontrolled, hysterical aggression. This scares her and destroys her sense of security. Or conversely, he fears conflict, gives in, and apologizes even when he's not at fault, just to get it over with. This demonstrates his weakness and kills her respect. Both scenarios are failures. But there is a third way, the way of a man. When she is emotional, your job is to remain calm. Don't get drawn into her hysteria. Be like a rock against which her waves crash. You listen to her, let her vent her emotions, but you don't take it personally. And then, when the storm subsides, you calmly, firmly, and confidently state your decision, without yelling, without excuses, just a statement of fact. It will be this way because I've decided so. In that moment, magic happens. She sees that her emotional storm couldn't throw you off balance. She sees your strength, your backbone, your ability to manage chaos. She realizes that she is safe with you, and her respect for you skyrockets. She might still be pouting and offended on the outside, but inside, her instincts are singing your praises. There he is, a real man. And when you approach her in the evening and simply hug her, her body will be ready to belong to you. Because during the day, you already proved that you are worthy of having power over her. You passed the main test. And now, any caresses will fall on fertile ground. You conquered her not in bed. You conquered her on the battlefield called a domestic conflict. And that is the most powerful foreplay possible. Lesson number 24. The quickest way to kill her desire is to ask during intimacy, "Do you like it?" A leader doesn't ask. He sees this question, which to nice guys seems like the height of caring, is actually a marker of total insecurity and a passion killer. By asking it, you are publicly admitting to several things at once. First, you show that you don't feel her. You are not in tune with her body, her breathing, her reactions. You are so disconnected from the process that you need verbal confirmation. You are blind. Second, you are shifting the responsibility for what is happening onto her. Instead of leading her and creating an experience for her, you are essentially saying, "Well, you go ahead, guide me. Tell me what to do." You are abdicating your role as a leader and forcing her to turn on her brain, to analyze, to give you feedback. You are turning an act of passion into a software testing session. This instantly pulls her out of the flow and destroys all the magic. Third, you are demonstrating your desperate need for approval. It's not so much about giving her pleasure as it is about getting a good grade from her for your efforts. This reveals your dependence on her validation, your inner emptiness that you are trying to fill with her praise. This is not the position of a strong man. This is the position of an insecure boy waiting for praise from his mommy. A true leader doesn't ask. He knows. He sees. He feels. He is tuned into her like a sensitive instrument. He hears the change in her breathing. He sees the muscles in her thighs tense up. He feels her body respond to his every move. He is fully present in the moment. He is the process. He doesn't need words because her body speaks to him in a much more honest and understandable language. If you want to find something out, experiment. Do something new and watch her reaction. Amplify what she responds to. Stop what causes tension. Be an explorer, not an examiner. Your attention, not your questions, is the key to her pleasure. Lesson number 25. The more you try to please her in bed, the less she respects you as a man. Here again, we encounter a fundamental misunderstanding of female psychology by men. He thinks that sex is a service industry where he must be the perfect performer, anticipating and fulfilling all her desires. He turns himself into a waiter who runs around her with a menu of pleasures, trying to please. And he doesn't understand why he gets more coldness and alienation in return. A woman doesn't want to be pleased. She wants to be taken. She wants to feel not your subservience, but your will, your desire, your healthy egoism. She wants to see that you are enjoying the process, that you are here not just for her, but for yourself too. A man who enjoys sex, who gets a kick out of his power, out of his control over her body, that's who is truly arousing. When you try too hard to please, you are sending her a message. My pleasure doesn't matter. Only yours does. I am willing to give up myself just to make you happy. This doesn't look like generosity. It looks like weakness. You put her on a pedestal and place yourself below. You are violating the natural hierarchy. And her instincts start to sound the alarm. She cannot respect someone who doesn't value himself. This doesn't mean you should ignore her desires. It means that your starting point should be your own pleasure. You are the center of this process. You are the one who gets pleasure and generously shares it with her. You are essentially saying, I feel so good that I want you to feel just as good. This is a position of abundance. The position of the pleaser is one of scarcity. I have nothing myself, so I'll try to earn your favor. Stop being a performer. Become the source. Focus on your own pleasure, your own power, your own enjoyment. And you will see how she, as if by magic, begins to respond to that energy. She will be drawn to your fire to get warm, not look down on you as you try to build a fire just for her. Lesson number 26. If sex has become a marital duty, the relationship is already dead. You're just afraid to admit it. The phrase marital duty is the epitaph on the tombstone of passion. The very fact that it appears in a couple's vocabulary means that sex has ceased to be a space of desire and has turned into a space of obligation. It's no longer a celebration. It's a tax. A tax that both pay to maintain the illusion that their company, called family, is still functioning. A duty is something you do out of a sense of obligation, not out of a sense of want. It's work. It's a chore. And when sex becomes that, it loses its main function to be a source of energy and pleasure. It starts to take that energy away. Each such act is not a coming together, but another reminder of how bad things are. It's a ritualistic act devoid of all meaning, like a dance of skeletons. Men often try to solve this problem. They start persuading, demanding, appealing to conscience. We're husband and wife, you have to. In doing so, they only make the situation worse. They are trying to force someone to be happy. It's absurd. You can't command desire. If you've reached the duty stage, it's not a sexual problem. It's the terminal stage of a relationship disease. It means you've long lost the emotional connection. You've stopped being a man and a woman to each other. You've become roommates, business partners in raising children. And there's no passion between roommates. There are only agreements, and there are no easy solutions here. You can't fix the sex while ignoring the fact that the relationship itself has turned to ashes. You either need to have the courage to admit its death and part ways, or you need to start a total, painful resuscitation of the entire foundation of your relationship. But to continue pretending that everything is fine and dutifully paying the dues is the surest way to slowly and painfully go insane. Lesson number 27. The most arousing thing you can do is to confidently say no to something she supposedly wants if it violates your principles. This is the highest level of masculine behavior, accessible to only a few. Most men live by the paradigm, happy wife, happy life. They are willing to do anything to please her, to avoid conflict, to be good. And they don't understand that this is precisely what kills her respect. A woman is constantly, on a subconscious level, testing a man's strength. She tests his boundaries. She's asking, in a way, where is your limit? Where is the line you won't let me cross? But will you never agree to? She is looking for his backbone, his principles. She wants to be sure that his world doesn't entirely revolve around her dot, and then a situation arises where she wants something. Or rather, she declares that she wants something. To go to her mother's instead of your fishing trip. To buy an expensive item you can't afford. Something that contradicts your plans, values, or common sense. 99% of men will buckle. They will say, yes, gritting their teeth, just so she won't be offended. And only 1% will say a calm, firm, and non-negotiable no. Not because he wants to spite her, but because it violates his internal code. No, darling. This weekend, I'm going fishing as planned. We'll go to your mother's next weekend. In that moment, the pattern is broken. She might get offended, pout, throw a tantrum. But deep down, in her primal brain, a neon sign lights up. Strength. She has realized that her manipulations and whims have hit a wall. She has found his boundary. And this gives her an incredible sense of security. A man who has principles more important than her desires is a reliable man. He is a leader. He is someone you can follow. His no to her is, paradoxically, the loudest yes to her safety and respect. It is precisely after such an episode, after she has lost this battle, that her attraction to you can flare up with a new, unprecedented force. Because you have proven that you are in charge. And submitting to the one in charge is the greatest female pleasure. Lesson number 28. A man who talks too much about sex usually isn't very good at it. Power is silent. There's a category of men, the sex theorists. They've read all the books, watched all the tutorials. They know all the techniques, all the erogenous zones, all the right words. And they can't help but share this knowledge. They constantly talk about sex. They discuss, analyze, brag, and lecture. And in doing so, they reveal their total insecurity and inexperience. True power, true competence doesn't need to be declared. It's demonstrated in action. A great surgeon doesn't talk at parties about how brilliantly he performs surgery. He just does it. A great warrior doesn't boast of his victories. His reputation speaks for him. The same goes for sex. A man who is truly confident in his abilities is calm and silent. He doesn't talk. He acts. Constant talk about sex is compensation. It's an attempt to convince oneself and others of something that isn't real. It's a smokescreen hiding a fear of failure. Such a man is like a boxer who shouts and threatens a lot before a fight because deep down He's afraid to step into the ring. For a woman, this is a very clear marker. When a man starts to flirt with her and talks too much or too early about sex, about what a master he is, her internal lie detector starts beeping. She understands she's dealing with an amateur, someone whose theory is far from his practice. A strong man will seduce her not with talk about sex, but with his personality, his behavior, his energy. And when it comes to the bedroom, he will simply and silently show what he's capable of. So remember, your actions should be louder than your words, especially in this area. The less you talk about what a great lover you are, the more chances you have of becoming one in her eyes. Let your body, your confidence, and her moan speak for you. Everything else is just noise that reveals your weakness. Lesson number 29. Your jealousy tires her, but your complete indifference to other men scares her, signaling your low value. We've touched on this topic before, but it's important to look at it from another angle, from the angle of your reaction to potential rivals. Here, too, men fall into extremes that are equally destructive. The first extreme is pathological jealousy. This is when you see a threat in every man, a colleague, a waiter, an old friend of hers. You conduct interrogations, check her phone, forbid her from socializing. This behavior has nothing to do with strength. It's a cry of your insecurity. You have so little faith in your own value that you think any other man could easily take your woman from you. For her, this is, first of all, humiliating, and second, exhausting. Living with such a paranoid person is impossible. The second extreme is complete indifference. This is when you show that you absolutely don't care. She can flirt, accept compliments, dance with others, and you sit there with a stone face, showing your high trust and lack of complexes. She reads this completely differently. She sees that you don't consider her valuable enough to fight for, that you don't see other men as rivals, probably because you don't consider yourself a player in this league. You're basically saying, take her if you want. I don't mind. This scares her to death because it signals your surrender. The right path, as always, is in the middle. It's what can be called calm dominance. You are not jealous because you are confident in yourself and in her, but you always mark your territory. You don't ignore other men. You look down on them. Your behavior should say, I see you're here. I know you want what's mine, but you pose no threat to me. You are a different species. This is manifested in subtleties, in a confident gaze, in a calm smile, in the way you casually place your hand on her shoulder when some suitor is hovering nearby. You are not nervous. You are not fighting. You are simply stating the fact of your superiority. And this is precisely what gives her a sense of pride and security. She understands that she is with a winner, and winners aren't jealous. They simply own. Lesson number 30. A woman can sleep with you for years, but she will only truly belong to the one she respects and fears a little. This is the final and most important lesson of our code. It brings together everything we've talked about. You can live together, have children, run a household together. She can have sex with you regularly. But all of this is just the outer shell. The question is, who does she belong to on the inside? Whose image makes her tremble? Who does she think about when she's alone? Belonging is not a stamp in a passport. It's the state of her soul. And it is born from two key components, respect and a little fear. Respect is the acknowledgement of your superiority, not a tyrannical one, but a natural one. She respects your mind, your strength, your principles, your achievements. She looks at you and understands that you are a man of a higher rank than she is. She is proud that you chose her. Without this respect, any relationship turns into cohabitation or partnership, but not into a union of a man and a woman. A little fear is not the fear of physical harm. It is the fear of losing you, the fear of your disapproval, the fear of not living up to your high standards. This fear keeps her on her toes. It doesn't let her relax and take you for granted. It forces her to grow, to be interesting for you, to fight for your attention. This fear is a sign of your supreme value to her. If she doesn't fear you, she doesn't value you. It is this combination, respect for your strength and the fear of losing it, creates the invisible chain that binds her to you more tightly than any vows. She may smile at others, but in her mind, she will always be with you. Because you are her center of gravity. You are the one who defines her world. And all the work we've discussed in these 30 lessons is aimed at one thing: becoming that man. The one who is impossible not to respect, and who is terrifying to lose. When you become him, all other questions will answer themselves. And now, the main question for you. Which of these 30 lessons was the biggest revelation for you? Write its number and, if you can, a few words on why. This is important. But today, we only dissected the code. We've established the diagnosis. In the next video, we'll move on to practice. I'll give you 5 specific techniques of verbal power built on these truths. To not miss it, make sure you're subscribed and be sure to hit the notification bell.